morning, my kindergarten dolphins. So good to see you today. We're going to begin this morning with some math. So today we're going to be talking about a new way of measuring things. Remember, we've been working on measuring things. We talked about measuring by height, how tall something is, measuring something's length, how long it is. Today we're going to work on measuring a new part of things. So let's begin with our objective. I'll start and you repeat. Objective is what we are going to learn. Okay, today our objective says I can compare objects by weight. Weight, and I pretended to fall because something was super heavy. So we're going to be talking about weight today and what that means. And remember, when we talk about comparing, we're going to be looking at two or maybe more different items and talking about what makes them different or the same. We also learned that last week that comparing can be looking at things that are the same. So today we're going to be warming up using some blocks and our 10 frame board. So make sure you have that just for our warm up. And then we'll also need our marker, our whiteboard marker, and either your dry erase packet or a whiteboard. All right, let's begin. So we're going to start this morning, like I said, with a warm-up with our 10 frame mat. And what we are going to be talking about today with our warm-up is talking about one more. So this is something that we've already learned about. You might be saying, Miss O, we know about adding one more. Well, we're going to be talking about adding one more to 10. So go ahead, take a minute now and fill in your whole 10 frame so that you have all 10 blocks filled to show 10. Okay, so now you should have all 10 of your 10 frames filled in, all 10 of them, and we are showing the number 10, right? So now I want to add one more to 10, and I'm going to use my cube to show that. 10 and 1. 10 and 1. So I'm going to put my cube right here below my 10 frame to show one more. So I'm actually going to tape it up there so that you can see it. 10 and 1. Let's show 10 and 1. Now, what am I showing here when I have 10 and 1? What number am I showing? I'm showing 11. I'm showing the number that is one more than 10. So I can call 11 10 and 1. 10 and 1. Now, what happens if I add another one? So I'm getting my tape out. I'm going to put another block here. So now I had 11, I had 10 and 1. Now I'm showing 10 and 2. 10 and 2. What is 10 and 2? So I'm thinking 10 and then 2 more. 10, 11, 12. 10 and 2. So here we have this big unit of 10, and then we add 2 more. We're saying 10 and 2 is 12. Let's keep going. Let's try another one. Okay. So I'm taking another cube here, so you can be doing this too on your 10 frame. You don't have to tape it down. You can just place it on your mat, but I want you all to be able to see it here. I'm going to add one more. So now I have 10. I have my big unit of 10 here, and I have 1, 2, 3. 10 and 3. What does that make? 10 and 3. 10, 11, 12, 13. Notice I'm not counting each square here in my cubes. I'm counting my 10 frame as one unit of 10. This is all showing me 10, and then I'm just adding my cubes at the bottom. Okay, we're going to do a couple more here. Go ahead and add another cube, and we're going to show 10 and 4. 10 and 4. And what is 10 and 4? What is that going to give us as our total? We have 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Or we could have remembered that 10 and 3 showed us 13. So 10 and 4 is just one more. It's 14. All right, let's do one more. We're gonna add one more cube down there at the bottom. So we had 10 and 4, and that made 14. What do we get if I add one last cube there? We have 10 and 5. 10 and 5. What is 10 and 5? So we had 10 and 4 and it made 14. So 10 and 5 makes one more, 15. Something else we can see here is now we have one group of 5, two groups of 5 to make 10, and one more group of 5 down here with our cubes. So all together we have 15. We can show that 10 and 5, or we also can see that we have 5, 5, and 5. We have 3 groups of 5 that all together made 15. That is really cool, you guys. So we just noticed, so the big thing that we want to take away from this is that we can count our 10 frames. We can count 10 as one big unit. So when we're working on counting those higher numbers that are bigger than 10, we can try and count up from 10 instead of counting all the way to 10 and then counting higher. So that's what we want to start working on, all right? Okay, let's move on to measurement. So go ahead, put your 10 frames away. You can put your cubes away. We won't need them right now. And we're just going to focus on learning our new vocabulary first. All right, so let's talk about our vocabulary. Now, some of these words we've already talked about, like compare, which, remember, means to look at the differences between two things. We've already talked about that. We've also talked about height, which is how we measure how tall something is from its end point up, how tall it is. And we've talked about length, which is when we measure how long something is. We measure from one endpoint to another how long it is. Now today we're going to talk about this new word, weight. Weight. Now it's not like, wait, pause. We're talking about weight. We're talking about how heavy or how light something is. So the word weight is how we measure how heavy or how light something is, how much it weighs. And look, I put an extra T there. That shouldn't be there. How much something weighs. Now something can be heavy, which means that it weighs more. The amount that it weighs is a higher number, so it would feel heavy to carry. It would be something that might be hard for you to pick up. Or something can be light. Its weight can be light, which is something that weighs less. And remember, just like when we looked at how tall something was or how long something was, when that number is smaller, it's going to weigh less. Just like how when the number was smaller, it was something that was shorter or wasn't as tall. So when we measure something as heavy, that means the number is higher, it weighs more. When we say something is light, the number is smaller and weighs less. So we're going to get right into looking at whether things might be heavy or light. First, we're going to start with a little problem here, and I want everyone to use your imagination here. We're going to pretend that we're going to the grocery store, and we're going to carry our groceries home in our backpacks. Now, I want you to imagine that you have two options of what you can buy. You can buy some cans of food, or you can buy some rice cakes. Now remember, you have to carry it home in your backpack, so you don't want to get something that's super heavy. Which of these do you think is going to be lighter? Which would you prefer to carry home in your backpack? The rice cakes or the cans of food? Which one is going to be lighter, easier to carry? It's going to be the rice cakes. The rice cakes are not going to feel as heavy in your backpack, so they're going to be lighter. Now, the cans would be heavier. They're going to weigh more, and our rice cakes are going to weigh less. So when you were thinking about that, you can imagine trying to maybe pick something up, holding it in your hands, and we all know what it feels like when we have something too heavy for us to hold. We might have to put it down because we need something that is lighter to carry. Now, when we talk about lighter, are we talking about something that's smaller? Maybe, but not always. Let's do a little example here. So I have two things in my hand here. I have a book, like a chapter book, and I have a piece of paper. Now, which thing is bigger? The piece of paper is bigger. But which thing is heavier? Which thing do you think is heavier? If I had to hold them both in my hands, which one would feel heavier? The book is heavier, even though it's smaller than the paper. Look, it's not as tall and it's not as long. It's heavier than the paper. So when we talk about light and heavy, sometimes smaller things can feel heavier. Just like when we looked at the rice cakes and the cans. The cans might be smaller than like a bag of rice cakes, but the rice cakes feel lighter. They don't feel as heavy. So we want to think about, if I was carrying that thing, which would make my arms more tired? Which one would be heavier? Today, we're going to use some of those problem-solving skills. We're going to have to think about what we already know about objects to decide if they're going to be heavier or lighter. So let me show you what you're going to work on. All right, so you're going to see this sheet on Class Dojo. You're going to be circling the things that are heavier. Now remember, sometimes the smaller item could be heavier. Imagine holding these things in your hand and think about which one is going to be easier for me to hold. That means it's lighter, right? Let's go over one of them just as an example. Let's go over this bottom left one, the balloon and the tennis ball. Which item is bigger? The balloon. The balloon looks bigger. But think about holding a balloon and holding a tennis ball. Which one is heavier? Which one feels heavier? Which one is harder to hold? Which one is heavier? Make your arms tired. That would make your arms tired faster. It would be the tennis ball. The tennis ball would feel heavier in my hands. The balloon would feel lighter. So I'm going to circle the tennis ball because that one is heavier to hold. So remember, the smaller object does not necessarily mean that it's lighter. Just like we went over with our book and paper example and our cans and rice cakes example. Those things might come in bigger packages, the rice cakes and the paper. They might look bigger, but they're not heavier. So use what you already know about these objects and see if you can figure out which objects weigh more. Circle the ones that weigh more, that are heavier. Alright, so go ahead and get on to Class Dojo and you're going to find the activity right there. You're going to use your pencil tool, your eraser tool, and you're going to be circling the object that is heavier. Alright, I'll check in with you all later. Good luck!